Hi, and welcome everybody to another version of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Today is Friday, the 14th of April, one day before the taxes are due. And I hope everybody's filed their taxes in time and we're all set to go there. But we're talking sports betting today, and I have two gentlemen who are recording from the beach here with their tank tops on. Mr. Joe D'Amico and Jesse the Mule Schule. So showing off both guys showing off their weightlifting prowess and guns. And gentlemen, starting with Joe, how are you?
I am wonderful. I am very honored to be here this week with you and Jesse. Not just two of my favorite people on the planet, two of the most respected cappers in the history of this business. As you can tell, Jesse and I, we're both shirtless today. I don't want to know if either one of us are pantless, but I will tell you this, Ross. I did lose my razor a couple of days, but what I haven't lost are too many NBA or MLB games the last week or so since I was last with you. So I'm happy to be here with both you and Jesse. Thank you for having me.
Well, the latter is the most important of all. You could lose or find a shaver at any time. You always can't pick winners. So not you specifically, but everybody. We put our hard work into picking winners for you guys. And if you check our archives, we've done pretty damn well for you over the last 4 weeks. Jesse, my man, I another sweep yesterday, or what happened?
Well, Ross, you bring me on this show. You try to get me to brag about myself. I won't do it. I tell you, I won't do it. What kind of an example would that set to my children? I try to teach my kids, when you have some success, act like you've been there before. If you score a goal when you're playing sports, don't act like you've never seen it happen before. I mean, you come into something like this, you expect to have success. So when you've had some, don't be surprised. And I said I'd get off to a good start with Major League Baseball. So I shouldn't be surprised that I have, and neither should any of you out there.
There you go. Stay humble. Stay humble, young man, as they used to tell Muhammad Ali as a kid. So in any event, we're talking NBA play-in games for Saturday, April the 15th. And Jesse's going to be covering the Warriors and the Kings. Joey is going to be looking at the Knicks and the Cavs. I wonder who he likes. He's got a Knicks hat on, and he's got a Knicks shirt on, and he's a native of metropolitan New York. So that's where he grew up. And I'm going to look at the Nets and 76ers, and I live nowhere close to or have any ties to people in Philadelphia and New York City, even though I'm on the opposite side of the state, the good side of the state, the western side of the state, and I almost said beautiful Rochester, New York, and I caught myself. Rochester, New York. Hey, you know what, Joe? It's 70-something degrees here in Western New York all week long, including right now. So it's quite a change in weather, and we welcome the good weather, as you well know, living in New York, that we don't enjoy too much of that throughout the course of the year. So we're enjoying it as we can. But I tell you what, I know who's enjoying stuff, Joe, is NBA bettors who have bet on the underdogs so far in this play-in tournament, because they're 4-0 ATS and 3-1 straight up. And the only loss was Minnesota losing in overtime to the Lakers. So what's your thoughts on what you've seen so far, Joey?
Well, I as you and I and Jesse have touched on quite a few times on this wonderful show during this NBA campaign, picking NBA games, no matter how good you are, how successful you've been over your career, has been very tough this season. This quote unquote load management situation, it's gotten a little out of hand. I watched Charles Oakley, an ex-New York Knick, actually say, guys, I feel bad for the fans. It isn't right. It just isn't right. But as a capper, I think it's been very difficult. So I want to tell you, I moved on one game so far in the playing tournament. Was a total, depending on where it landed. Some websites I got to win, some guys I got to push. So having said that, I kind of stood away only because of the load management situation. Jesse, Ross, sports fans, going into the last week of the regular season, I said a week ago, you got to treat it a little bit like the last week or two of the NFL regular season. But I think strange things got even stranger last week, Ross. It was very difficult to handicap certain games because we saw some of these teams who needed to win still sit players. So I actually took it a little bit easier in the first 4 games of the play-in tournament. I put out one total, depending on the site, push, win, loss, depending. But
I'm assuming that was Chicago and Toronto, Joey, right?
Absolutely, it was.
Yeah.
And, it's a good thing that I don't have any hair, because I'm told if I watched the end of the game, I would have pulled out the last of it anyway. But, Ross, I've taken it kind of slowly. And, guys, if I can take it slowly, I'm not telling anybody else out there, but I'm saying if I can take it slowly, don't feel bad if you got to go into this, dipping your toe first, because this load management stuff has been crazy.
Absolutely. It's been the most unpredictable sport in many, many years. And I'm including all major sports because of player availability. Joey, I went over this time and time again. We've talked about it on the show, what the NBA needs to do. Quite frankly, the NBA doesn't care. The commissioner doesn't care. They're getting 1% of the revenue. The sports books don't care. That's for sure, because it's putting the bettors and guys like us who do this daily in a disadvantageous position because of the uncertainty and the last minute load management. We're sitting this guy, the lack of transparency, but it is what it is. And the only way to combat that is take it real easy. So, and that's exactly what I've done down the stretch. And Jesse, I don't want to beat it to death with you because we've talked about it time and time again. But what's your take so far on what you saw going into Saturday's action, what you saw in the first 2 days of the NBA play-in tournament?
Well, Ross, you touched on the underdogs, but I'm more focused on the totals. And I think I watched your show yesterday with you and Doug mentioned, I believe, the totals were something like 11-3 all time.
Yeah.
To the under in the play-in games, and that Chicago-Toronto game, if you had to bet the opening line, that still would have went under, as Joe experienced. So 3 of the first 4 games going under. Last year in this spot for today's games, the second game of the play-in and second round, I guess you'd call it, of the play-in. Both of those games went under the total, and both of the teams coming off of a win won those games. And I sort of think that trend should or could likely hold true again here tonight.
Interesting. Very interesting. And we're also seeing these totals a lot lower than we've saw during the regular season. And there's nothing different about that because we see that on an annual basis. Traditionally, in the NBA playoffs, teams tighten the screws up defensively and slow the pace of games down to their liking. So, because every offensive possession is so valuable at this time of year. All right, let's get to the free picks. And Joey, tell the folks how you've been doing lately. I know you made a brief mention of so. And then get into your game, the Knicks versus Cleveland. Cleveland's -5.5 and 214.5.
Well, Ross, once again, thank you for having me. It's always great to finish the week off with 2 of my favorite people, 2 of the best cappers on the planet, 2 of the best looking guys. So I had to make sure I had my hat on today. Having said that, lately, always good. I have, been very, very selective. Guys, 2 places in life you have to be selective: picking a spouse and picking a winner in betting sports. And I got to be honest with you, you can divorce the first, but you can't buy back the money you lost. I'll tell you that. So I am very selective. I don't release a lot of plays in the last week or so. But what I've released have one I've done quite well with. My free pick phone, 1-800-563-8854. Each and every day on a pre-recorded message line, I have a free winner. Guys, no callbacks, no BS, no sales pitches. 7-3 the last 10 days, won the last 2 days. Very happy about that. I'm happy right now this time of year because I go into the postseason of the NBA winning, and I've always done well in the NBA postseason. And I have 10 top finishes over the last 19 years. I'm documented, Ross, in baseball. So I'm very excited with baseball. I'm off to a great start, hitting about 70%, just under. So I'm happy with that. Having said that, guys, as you have noticed, I'm wearing my Knicks garb. And then when I do put on my number 33 jersey, I get an extra 3 inches on my vertical. I can almost hit the net now, guys. Now, having said that, Sportsbetting, it's no secret that both of these squads, New York and Cleveland, have a laundry list of injuries. For New York, they have questionables on Brunson and Keels, while Randall and Washington are both listed as out. For Cleveland, they have quite a few players questionable: Okoro, Windler, LeVert, Garland, Mitchell. A couple of those names have no real significance, but several of those players certainly will have a bearing on their team's success in this series. Having said that, the Cavs come into this matchup possessing one of the best defenses in the NBA. However, However, there's always a however. The Knicks have won and covered both meetings in this rivalry this season. This does include a matchup just 2 weeks ago on the road at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. As you know, Cleveland tends to get overvalued when hosting. They've covered just 2 of the last 7 at home, sports fans. They're ugly against the spread. Trends don't just stop there, folks. They've also only covered 1 of the last 5 games played on 3 or more days rest. 1 of the last 5 games played versus teams with a winning record. 1 of the last 7 conference quarterfinal games, and just 1 of the last 5 overall games coming into this weekend's matchup. New York may not do it very pretty, but they do it. My friends, what I'm talking about is covering. They've covered 37 of the last 52 games played on the road. 4 of the last 5 games played against teams with a winning percentage above 600. 4 of the last 5 games played on 3 or more days rest. And by the way, they've also covered 5 of the last 6 games played on the road against teams with a winning home record. I think you know where I'm going with this, guys. New York. I'm going to tell you right now, you can expect a very physical game here, and therefore I do feel this is way too many points to give New York. Take Knicks plus the points here in game 1. Take your bookmaker's money.
All right, Joey D. He likes the Knicks plus 5.5 at Cleveland. Can't disagree with that one. Not yet anyway. I mean, I still have to dabble further into this game, but 2 very good teams and a great matchup. Looking forward to this series in particular. Now, Joey, you said you have free pick lines. Tell them the numbers again.
Well, 1-800-563-8854. That's 1-800-JOE. 8854 each and every day on a pre-recorded message line, guys. You get to hear my lovely melodic Mariah Carey type voice. I give you a free play. There are days that I like something even stronger on a pay pick line. We don't virtue over there, guys. I just tell you, you can go over there if you'd like. No callbacks, no BS. 7-3 the last 10 days, 1 the last 2 days. This time of year, you're going to get baseball, you're going to get basketball on any given day. Call it, take it to the bank, guys.
And Joey is a more impressive speaker than he is a singer. So keep that in mind, folks. And also the 100th caller will receive the chain around Joey's neck. And he's giving that away free. If you're the 100th caller. And also just be prepared. It's going to cost you a lot to have that shipped because you get charged per how much that weighs. And that's about a 100-pound chain on his neck. Boy, oh boy, having to walk around all day with that kind of onus around your neck. No wonder the guy is so good at what he does. Anyway,
you can take the guy out of New York. You can't take New York out of the guy. I am a Guido. I'll be a Guido forever. Plus, I'm a Catholic. You know, as Catholics, we may sin every day of the week. But the bigger the cross, the better the chance we got to get into the pearly gates. So I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. Jesse, your thoughts and in terms of how you've been doing of late and where you want them to find you. I'm assuming jesseschule.com. We'll leave that up to you and then get into your game, which is going to be the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. Right now, the line is a pick 'em and the total's 238.5. Take it away, Jesse.
Well, Ross, I did start last baseball season on a 9-1 run. I'm not quite hitting 90% after the first 15, 16 days of this season, but I'm hitting 72%, and that is good enough for me and those who follow me, I believe. And as my luck goes, I had one play yesterday. I had the Rays for the first 5 innings. Wouldn't you know it, they score 7 runs in the bottom of the 5th. That's, sometimes when your luck is going a certain way, that's just the way things go. Let's hope that that continues here today, because I got 3 Major League Baseball plays and an NBA playoff total. And speaking of totals, I'm going to have a look at the total for this game because 238.5. You mentioned that the totals were coming down. Not in this game, Ross, not in this game. I had to do a little bit of research because I thought 238.5 is pretty high for a playoff game. Like, have we ever seen a higher total than this? And I asked my good friend John Ryan, and he told me that there was a 250.5 in the COVID lockout season in the bubble. So it's not the highest playoff total, but it's pretty high. I got to fade this number. A lot of things have to go right for 2 teams to combine to score almost 240 points in an NBA game. Any kind of lulls in scoring, or it doesn't take much to keep the number under 238.5. And the history is on our side. The under is 6-2-1 in the last 9 head-to-head meetings. They've gone under in 4 straight at Sacramento. 3 of the 4 games in the regular season series went under 238. Now, probably 3 of the 4 games went over because they were all pretty high scoring, but not enough to go over 238. I mean, 238 is a big number. I got to say that. Of course, Sacramento plays fast. They score a lot of points. They're probably not going to change a thing, but Golden State can play defense. In fact, the Warriors, of course, defending NBA champions, they played 22 games in last year's playoffs. You know how many of those games saw 238 combined points? 2.
Oh,
2.
okay. Yeah.
Two big blowouts at home where they scored a bunch, but 20 of their 22 games last year in the playoffs went under 238.5. I like those odds. I'll take the under all day long.
So Jesse Schule likes Golden State and Sacramento under the total of 238.5. Yeah, Jesse makes a good point. You can't afford a bad quarter when you go over 238.5. And for those of you at home that don't have a calculator, that's 59.5 points per quarter just to get to 238. So basically, you have to have a couple quarters in the 60s and a couple more in the high 50s, basically, to get a game over that nature. Not out of the realm of possibility with those 2 teams, but Jesse did mention some pretty good stats in the head-to-head meetings, and also how Golden State last year in the postseason, 20 of 22 games did not reach 238 points. So some good stuff, Jesse. Good job. And Joey, what's your take on that game?
Well, I think Jesse made a lot of good points, as he always does when breaking down a game. He's got a great way to break down games. Guys, in my opinion, this is one of the best matchups we'll see in this early round of the playoffs. Both teams are very talented. Both have some veteran leadership. Both teams have solid youth, and both teams go pretty deep bench-wise, guys. Unlike several of the other matchups that we've seen the last few days, these 2 teams aren't listing a million players on the injury reports. Straight up, Golden State has had the better of Sacramento this season, taking 3 or 4 meetings. And like I said, straight up, they're also into this contest a little bit hotter, both straight up and against the spread, with 2 of the top scoring offenses in the NBA facing 2 of the, let's say, less than stellar defenses. You can expect a lot of people out here, as Jesse mentioned, to go over, and they really did put this total very, very high. However, this is the highest total they have set in the 4 matchups between these 2 teams this season. Personally, as I mentioned, I think it's going to be a very competitive contest. But it's hard to go against a team that has had, without question, one of the most successful postseason players in the history of this sport, this generation, or any generation. Yes, I'm talking about Steph Curry. I put a small lean on the under here. I do agree with Jesse. I put a small lean on the under, but I'm going to take the leadership and Steph Curry to carry this team on his shoulders in this matchup. I'm going to take the Warriors. I'm playing Warriors and under. I'm going to take my bookmaker's money. You join me. You will too.
Very good, Joey. Nice input there from Joey. And he agrees with Jesse. Go under the total of 238.5 in the Golden State Sacramento game. And, here's the thing that scares me with Golden State. And yeah, they're the type of team that could turn the light switch on at playoff time, right? But if you look at their home and away splits, it's Jekyll and Hyde. And that really shocked me this year. That's the one thing that surprised me. I know that they weren't 100% healthy all the time, but what NBA team was this year. And the bottom line is that they were terrible on the road and really good at home. So I would tend to look at the total in this game and tend to agree with both gentlemen on their take, because I'm not willing. If anything, I agree with Joe that the Warriors have been there and done that, and they have the star players that have the experience at this time of year and have played a lot of games in the playoffs in recent seasons. But again, I can't I have to see the Warriors show me something on the road in the playoffs.
I think we're going to see a lot in game. We're going to learn a lot in game 1 of this series.
Absolutely.
This is one where you really want to watch that first game closely to get an idea for how things are going to go.
Yeah, well, those 2 series, I mean, the Warriors and the Kings and the Knicks and the Cavs, the 2 games that you covered, and those series in particular, are I want to say the 2 most intriguing matchups of the first round. Now my game, I'm going to be covering the Nets and the 76ers, not so much. Okay. A lot of the luster in this series has been taken away because the Nets piled up a lot of wins when they had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. They no longer are part of the roster. They've moved on. And right now, Philadelphia in game one is an 8.5-point favorite and a total 214.5. These two teams finished the regular season against each other, and Philadelphia won that game 134-105. And that completed the domination that Philadelphia has had over Brooklyn this season, going 4-0 straight up and 3-1 against the spread versus the Nets. This is also a Philly team that's been red hot offensively, shooting 50% or better in their last 4 and 5 of their last 6. On the other hand, the Nets offensively over their last 5 games, averaging a paltry 108.4 points per game, which is low by NBA standards, and shot an uninspiring 44.2% during that course of that time. Comparatively, the 76ers averaging close to 116 a game and shooting 37.4% from 3 in their last 5. Here's another big thing that I'm going to look at in this series. Brooklyn was the number 29 rebounding team overall. And when I say overall, I'm talking about offensively and defensively. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, the combination thereof. They're next to last in the NBA on the season. Philadelphia, who is a very average, even though they have size, Joel Embiid underneath, they were a very average, middle of the pack rebounding team. But when they played Brooklyn this year in those 4 wins, they were a plus 6.5 rebounds per game and also averaged 14 offensive rebounds per game. When you shoot the ball as well as Philadelphia does, and you can offensive rebound the way they do, it makes for a very tough situation. I know the Dogs have covered. I know the Dogs have won straight up 3-4, but I'm going to lay the lumber here. I'm going to go with Philadelphia minus 8.5 versus Brooklyn. Jesse?
I can't disagree, Ross. It's tough to know what to expect from this Nets team. They've been competitive down the stretch, even though they dealt away their superstars. But it's asking a lot to be competitive against a Philly team that's been so good this season.
Yeah, Joey. The other thing is the number here. 8.5, which is high for a playoff game, especially when we're talking about. It's not like this is a play-in tournament. This is a Nets team that finished, I believe, number 6 as the number 6 seed. So your take.
Well, the number, especially in the first game of a series, I think number obviously plays a part in every game, but in the first game, it gauges us as cappers how we look at a game. Once again, we look at a game just a few days away, loaded, and it is loaded with players listed as questionable. For Brooklyn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players are listed as questionable, including several starters. For Philly, 8. Let me repeat that, 8. I didn't just come from the breakfast table and I ate a big breakfast. I'm telling you, 8 players, including several starters, including 4 starters that contribute their most minutes per game, are all listed as questionable. Do I expect all these guys to be out? No. But we don't know as of this point. I'm speculating, but I'm going to go with something. I'm going to go with my gut here. Before you move on any of these games, do your due diligence, check the final injury reports. Having said that, to me, it's a big number here, guys. The 76ers did take all 3 meetings against the Nets this season, straight up, covering 2 of those games. The 2 games they did cover were where? On the road. They failed to cover the 1 game at home. Guys, on both sides of the court, as Ross mentioned, the 76ers are superior. Their offense scores a bit more. Not only that, Ross mentioned one of the best in the league on the rebounds, one of the best also from downtown. All these angles benefit Philly, guys. Understand the Nets are not very good at defending the 3 at all. On the flip side, Philadelphia certainly possesses one of the best overall defenses in the league. Now, they are holding teams on the scoreboard. They're also one of the best on the defensive glass. All these things are telling you Philly, Philly, Philly. In my opinion, guys, I come from the other side of the counter. I worked for a big bookmaking crew in New York when I was a teenager. I worked in sports books in Vegas for several years. I have to look at where the odds makers are setting this number. To me, it looks a little trappish, guys. I'm going to say that. Both teams got a few key cogs in the wheel that will go on the floor here. Both teams, we don't know about a few cogs in the wheel. The one thing that bothers me is that 8.5 points really is a lot of points, sports fans. While I think the 76ers do beat them here, I have to put a small lean on the Nets here, which have covered 7 of the last 9 games played on the road. Jesse mentioned it. They've won some games down the stretch. Do I think they are the same team as when they had KD and Irving on the floor? No, they're not. But when you're not expected to do that great, it makes you very dangerous, especially against the number. So I'm going to quote one of my favorite rap bands of all time, the Beastie Boys. I'm going to say, no sleep till Brooklyn. I like the Nets here plus the 8.5, sports fans.
There you go. Joey's got on the opposite side, and that's okay. Because we're all entitled to our opinion. And if we all agreed all the time, folks, it would be a pretty boring show. But anyway, the official picks for today, Joe D'Amico likes the New York Knicks plus 5.5 over Cleveland. Jesse likes Golden State and Sacramento under 238.5. Ross Benjamin, yours truly, he likes the 76ers minus 8.5 over the New York Knicks or Nets, excuse me. And Brooklyn Nets, excuse me. And, Joey worked for a big bookmaker when he was a kid. So did I. It's a matter of whose bookmaker was smarter and taught us the most. So we'll see at the end of this game. Fair enough. Right, Joe?
Fair enough, my friend.
All right. So for Joe D'Amico, folks, before I even sign off, excuse me, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. There's been a plethora of you who have signed up or subscribed, I should say, over the last 28 days. As a matter of fact, we've had 326 new subscribers over the last 28 days, and we're pushing 9,400 subscribers now. Just exponential growth over the last few months, and we thank each and every one of you. Without you, the show would not be able to continue, and I would encourage those of you who have not subscribed. You're watching the show. You like sports betting. That's what it's about. It's not a free pick video like you see on a lot of channels. That's okay if that's the way they operate. We don't. This is a podcast. We talk about not only the free pick games that we use, but also we try to educate you in the world of sports betting. And the goal is always on a daily basis to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. And don't forget, give the old guys a like. Since you all claim we're 80 years old or so, we're pretty damn good looking nursing home we got going here and pretty sharp minds for old guys. So until the next time, for old man Joe and Grandpa Jesse and Archaic Ross, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.